Good evening, everybody. Welcome to The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament. This is the final race for Group T, Game 3 between Solski and Roach in the match to be the second person to go into brackets out of this group. They've chosen a 6-6 assured sword seed between the two of them. My name is Mercer. I'm joined here tonight by P-Train. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Both of these are some really good runners. I'm looking forward to seeing execution, routing, all of it. Should be a really good race.
Yeah, and they're off. Looks like they're both starting in Link's house. And in spite of some speculation that they had that it would be a Pyramid Pearl seed, it is the first item they get out of Link's house.
Yeah, it's always nice when you don't have to do a Pearl hunt. Interesting that both of these runners are starting at the Uncle. I know a lot of people who prefer to start at Sanctuary.
Yeah, and Tier 1 tree pull is going to be 80 rupees today, which is nice. That's one of the two things you'd really like to see, either that or bombs.
Yeah, but Solski getting that extra blue rupee, I mean, that's a pretty insurmountable lead. Roach is going to have to work really hard to catch up that 5 rupee pickup.
And Roach didn't even get all of the tree drops. He's only at 62. Oh, well, there's 300 rupees too. Roach heading back out. Gonna do another tree pull, maybe?
I think he might be doing escape with the assured sword.
Oh, right. They didn't pick up a weapon. Right, they started with the sword.
If you're going to do the Uncle route early, I really like this play for Roach.
Yeah, worth mentioning, they did assured sword for Game 2. Roach had lost Game 1. Solski is the one who chose to make this 6-6.
Solski taking the tree pull and the Uncle money and instantly buying bombs at Sahasrara. At the lake shop. We'll probably make a play for Sahasrara here. I'll be interested to see if he goes to Eastern. Runners have very mixed feelings about early Eastern without a bow.
Yeah, 6-6 is kind of interesting because it can make it where you never end up doing it, but it'd be weird to skip an Eastern crystal under any circumstances unless you just never find a bow.
Nothing in the back of Sahasrara's closet, although there is a rupee hoard, so that's kind of nice for potential Zora play. But outside of that, unfortunately, not much, and he is opting to save and quit now to Kakariko.
Yeah, they've already got the option for fake flippering up to Zora and cleaning that area mostly out.
Yeah, and Roach finding bombs and escape, that will save him a little bit of time because he doesn't have to. He likely will not have to make a trip to buy bombs. He has enough to clear out Kakariko, and will likely find bombs in Kakariko to avoid having to buy more.
Meanwhile, front of escape not really having very much. But looks like we're going to see Dark Cross, and he could go all the way to the back with that small key.
Ukena Samaria on the mushroom spot.
Oh, and a hook shot. That's quite the combo of items for Lost Woods today.
Yeah, I mean, Ukena Samaria is generally nice to have early, in my opinion. It's an alternative weapon, which, I mean, when you have a sword, it's not such a big deal, but definitely one of those items that can be really awkward to have to look for later. Because outside of Mire and Turtle Rock, they really don't have a whole lot of utility outside of that. I mean, of course, Hookshot's a wonderful mobility. You got Death Mountain options. Less attractive would be an early Swamp play, maybe.
Yeah, we're still several items from early Swamp, but still, Hookshot's one of those items that's just really nice to find early.
Roach apparently did find the small key in the front of Escape, so he's going all the way to the back of Escape.
Yeah, key rat hunting in the dark is kind of obnoxious, but the sword makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, Roach having no problem finding that key rat. Really well executed dark room on this part.
Well, I saw Solski got the King of Burna out of Blind's hideout, or hut.
Back of Escape not paying out with anything.
Yeah, that was just kind of escape all around. And there's the flute within Kakariko.
So lots of mobility early here. Roach is not moving. Unless his stream is just frozen.
Yeah, I'm not sure what quite happened there.
Luckily, he is back in motion now, so he will be following closely behind Solski. It's a heartbeat. So Kakariko having some items at the same time, not a whole lot. I mean, you have the flute, which kind of gives you a little bit of mobility, but I don't know. I guess with a hook shot, that is east of Mountain, so that is probably and a mirror. So almost all of Death Mountain open to Solski, at least on the Light World side. It doesn't have a fire source, so upstairs Hera's technically out of logic if the big key ends up being fire locked. But with the hook shot, you have the Hera pod option. There's a bow in the library.
That's a lot of early game value in the Kakariko and outskirts area.
Yeah, the irony of the bow is that usually, you're really happy to see progression on the library because that means boots at some point in the seed, before GT. But with it being the bow, there's two of them. So that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot.
Yeah, it's also 6/6, which makes it more likely that you don't have to do one, either Eastern or Pod. Although it did look like both of our 5/6 crystals were Light World. I think I saw Eastern and Hera as the 5/6.
Solski going for a Nagina check here. Really smart idea with the flute. Of course, it cuts down the travel time to get here. So, really good play on his part. Also, it's just one of those awkward locations. Sometimes it's hard to route this in organically, especially if it ends up being an Agassiz or something like that. You generally want to have this cleared out. Another rupee horde.
They're definitely not going to have problems with money in this seed.
Yeah, I really tend to like seeds that are resource heavy at the beginning, just to cut down. I don't like farming for resources at any point in the game. I just like to play the game.
That is completely fair. That said, our trackers confirmed that Eastern and Hera were crystals, were the 5/6 crystals, and then Desert was also a crystal. Between that and this being 6/6, it could be a very friendly crystal layout. We already have access into Desert with Flute and Mirror once we get Mitts, which we'll have to have at some point. There's no way around those.
Solski coming into the mini Moldorm. This can generally be a really difficult early game battle if you don't have a weapon, but Solski is very much stacked for this fight. And not only having a sword, but also having a boot shot. We got Ether, a green rupee, 50 rupees, a red rupee, and another red rupee. So Ether might have value later, but other than that, kind of a boring mini Moldorm cave there.
Yeah, and the nature of the settings makes it less likely for Ether to have value because Turtle Rock is high on the list of dungeons you will skip if you can.
Oh, yeah. So outside of Ice Rod Cave, I would say Death Mountain is looking really attractive at this point. Kind of annoying to go up there without a fire rod, or without a fire source. But again, with the hookshot, you can clear Hera. So that might be my next play after this.
Yeah, I would think about doing the fake flipper checks, but it's a lot of items on Death Mountain, and not even Zora is in logic without either a glove or flippers.
Solski might be taking your advice here.
Yeah, if you get like one of the gloves this way and then the others on Death Mountain, you get to route in Dark Death Mountain with it. I do like this before hitting the mountain.
Yeah, especially with Flute, it's very quick to set this up. Solski doesn't even have to worry about that archer. Of course, getting hit in the fake flipper state is an insta-death. And he is going to continue the Zora. So this will be a good play for him. With the Moon Pearl, he can check the Waterfall Cave. And Roach about to get his Rupee Horde out of Agina.
Just more money in the Waterfall Ferry.
Yeah, unfortunately not really worth the effort, but hopefully either the Zora Ledge or Zora will pay off. Just 20 rupees on the Zora Ledge, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm not 100% sure if there is a fake flipper set or a splash deletion set up that would actually work here. I know he does have the Cane of Samaria and bombs, but I don't think there's a convenient setup here for those items.
Yeah, the ones I know that will work with Zora Ledge are either the bow plus bomb setup or the cane plus red meringue plus bomb setups. I know those work for Zora Ledge. I don't know of any others that do, but I'm definitely not the expert.
Yeah, and Solski getting that flute out, I think he's going to end up skipping front of escape.
Yeah, that'll pay off for him, given that we know it has nothing on either side of escape.
Yeah, and especially having the mirror, he might be hoping to maybe loop that in with the pyramid check if he decides to do it at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real chance that Pyramid Fairy might be something, so it could be able to route all that in together, given our 5-6 crystals.
So Kakariko had a lot of items in it, but we really haven't seen many items since. I think Ether's been the only... Ether and the Mushroom, maybe? No, Mushroom was in Kakariko. So yeah, Ether, I think, is the only item we found outside of Kakariko right now.
Well, the Moon Pearl was in Link's house, but yeah. Nothing in any of the other overworld.
This is one of my least favorite screens in the game. This Death Mountain screen.
I actually would
Absolutely
put it as my worst. I hate those cabbages and I hate dead rocks, and this screen has both.
Blue Male inside Spectacle Rock. We'll see if Solski goes for this. He is not. I agree with that. I think you have plenty of health at this stage in the game. Blue Male's not worth that trip, in my opinion. I definitely agree with Solski on that one.
Yeah, now, okay, that's interesting. Pod is a pendant, so it is possible with 6/6 that we don't need that bow. So boots could be in GT. Turtle Rock is the green pendant, and then I didn't see the third one.
Swamp was the other pendant. There's a glove. So that puts us a hammer or a glove away from Dark World access, which is really nice given that you're about to do the entirety of Death Mountain. Hera is fire locked, but I think Solski's going for the Hera pod.
Yeah, it's possible he's about to lock himself out of getting the second item.
Solski is select buffering, so has to be very careful not to save and quit here.
That would be an unfortunate way to lose a couple of minutes for a Death Mountain climb.
Nice Hera pot from Solski. Almost killed himself doing it, but very, very well executed.
Yeah, he knew going in he only had one chance at that before he'd have to find a heart of some kind.
Couple of slashes at the big chest. Well, that's the second item, so we're good.
Yep, won't have to worry about getting locked out of that big chest. It's just going to be garbage of some kind.
The only slightly interesting thing about that Quake medallion is that until we find a fire source, that is out of logic for us. Might come in handy if Meyer ends up being one of the dungeons we dive later. And it's Quake locked.
Yeah, it'd be rough going into Mire without a fire source anyway. You're really risking getting locked out of the dungeon.
Solski with the first crystal of the match. And a 5/6 crystal at that.
And we're about to get a bunch of checks in quick succession on Solski's side. The thing he'd most love to see right here is the second lift upgrade, so that he can just do Dark Death Mountain while here. And there's our hammer up on Death Mountain. So the speculation about this being a non-hammer seed can stop in chat. That's also our Dark World access.
Chat, always wanting the best for our runners.
Well, it's hilariously unlikely once you get into GT. There's a lot of hammerlock chests inside of GT where the big key can be.
So it looks like Roach opted to do East Death Mountain before Hera, which is really smart. I mean, if you're not comfortable with Hera Pot, maybe you find a fire source over here. And even if you are comfortable with Hera Pot, you get a little bit, kind of where Solski has Quake out of logic. If you find a fire source over here, even if you still do the Hera Pot, you have a better understanding of, logically where the things are located in the seed. So, and he found Hammer, so you can just walk over here to the left and do Hera.
Yeah, also it means he doesn't have to do Fighter Sword in Moldorm. He was kind of hoping to find either a sword upgrade or the hammer to make that fight a little less miserable.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have access to Swamp right now. If you were so inclined.
Well, we can walk in. We can't really do anything without flippers.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was thinking Solski did the Zora checks, but that was all.
Now that you've said that, the flippers will end up being right around here. There's our lamp.
So that puts Quake right back in logic. Not that that was a huge concern for our runners, but now we know.
That also makes that, unless there's another glove hanging out somewhere in the light world, logically, I think the seed wanted you to double dip Hera.
Solski's making his way up toward Pyramid Ledge. So he might take this opportunity to route and escape. He might just go straight to Catfish, or he might do them both.
Yeah, Roach would probably appreciate Solski doing escape just to get back some of that time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those decisions, like, especially if you end up losing a race by, 2 or 3 minutes. It's kind of hard to look back and say, oh, well, I guess I should have skipped escape,
Yeah, the back section is like the more arguable part because Solski with that glove will be able to just do it from Sanctuary at some point, which is a lot faster than navigating those dark rooms. Even though Roach did that expertly, like that was a very quick trip through there.
Yeah, and also the map is in the back of Escape, so I would be very hesitant to go through Dark Cross if there might be a lamp there, especially in Solski's position with the glove. Chat bringing up a good point that Roach is actually queued up for Spike Cave right after Hera, which wasn't an option for Solski because he got the hammer after Hera. Roach is leaving. He's not doing Hera Pot.
Yeah, I know I can't do either version. I know the bootsless setup is considered a lot harder. May not be comfortable with it. It is possible that he'd be forced to save quit if he messed it up, I know.
This would be very interesting if mitts were here because I don't know when Solski would come back here except for with the mitts. Just a bundle of arrows, though. So depending on how Roach enters the Dark World, he might be really annoyed here because if he enters the Dark World at Hype Cave, the very first thing he's going to find is a fire source.
It looks like he's going that way, so I would expect him to find that lamp pretty quick. Unless he needs that Quake. Not the end of the world that he left Hera. We have the mirror. He can route it in with the GT clear.
See what we get here from Catfish on Solski's side as Roach picks up his lamp on the right side. Bomb, so not a very big play there. I mean, it's good to get it out of the way, but just you hate walking all the way up Catfish for that.
That's why people skip it forever and then get bitten when it is something.
I mean, there are a lot of locations like that in the game. Graveyard Ledge tends to be one. Spike Cave is for some. Just these locations where it's like, hey, if progression's here, I'm just gonna lose that race. Like I'm never gonna check it. Left Side Swamp is another one of those locations.
So is the entirety of Ice Palace for a lot of runners.
Solski's going to do a Skull Woods dip here. I'll be interested to see if he goes to Graveyard Ledge. Yes, you do have to walk back to the Dark World portal, but with the mirror and the flute, Graveyard Ledge is kind of an easy check because you can just flute back to 3. So we'll see what he ends up deciding to do here. Nothing in the first chest of Skull Woods, though.
Yeah, it does at least have the Cane of Samaria, one of the best uses for it, where it doesn't change requirements, is in this room leading to the vanilla big key and chest for Skullwoods, because you get to just skip the whole dragging the statue around thing.
Yeah, this room is absolutely awful. Not only in Rando, but even in the NMG speedrun, that room has killed a lot of runs. Just because those mummies can be so annoying.
And a vanilla big key.
And Solski is very wisely going to get a small key. One of the changes in B31 is that the pinball room is no longer guaranteed to have a small key. So if you opt to drop down one of the pits rather than go through the locked door, there's a good chance that you could actually soft lock yourself in that portion of the dungeon and require a save and quit to get out. Looks like Roach is now making the play for Hera. I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of this play with the entirety of the Dark World. I might hold off at least until you can loop it in with maybe Dark Death Mount.
Yeah, I think I would probably put this off until either you're getting something else up here or you have desert cleared and it unlocks Pyramid Fairy.
That was a nice hook shot through the spikes for Solski. That's not a trivial thing to get.
Oh dear.
Ooh. There are mitts, so that's unfortunate for. I mean, I don't know. We know that Roach isn't going to find anything outside of Quake in Hera, but Roach, that might get into like his mind. The fact that he was in Hera, had to leave immediately for a fire source, and then he's up on Death Mountain, and then probably very quickly going to find mitts if he decides to route in Skull Woods.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long he puts that off. Mitts are one of those items that lock a lot of locations, so he can't put it off that long. Looks like Solski doing Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, I agree with this. I think this is probably the best time you're going to get to route it in, especially having already done Catfish. And now, especially with the mitts, it's that much easier to get back to that Village of Outcast people.
And I'm guessing we might see a Mire area play before too long.
Ooh, Back of Escape. This is a really nice route for Solski.
And he's going to take the back route over to Dark Cross.
Also going to save a little bit of time here because he's got a lamp. So he can see what he's doing.
Yeah, that's... while runners here can do the dark rooms, it's always a little faster to just have the light source and see what you're doing.
So this is where I always start to feel awkward in a seed when I'm in Solski's position, right? Because you have the mitts, you have the mirror. There are a lot of things that route naturally when you have the mirror, because you know Thieves Town is a completable crystal for you right now. So you can do Thieves Town, you can do Village of Outcasts. You also have access to the Smith Chain, which is something that routes in very easily with the mitts and the mirror. But it does take time to route stuff like that in. Especially when you have dungeons to clear, like you might be able to full clear desert. You might be able to do mire, although I'm not sure you'd want to do that without a bow, you know, and just fighter sword, hammer, vitreous. But you start to have to make decisions on, you know, I can do all of this stuff right now, but do I really want to spend the time to do all of the stuff that I have access to?
Yeah, I feel like there's a pretty good chance that you just do Thieves relatively early here, because the difference in go mode and not go mode Thieves is not great. And that's 4 items.
So Roach is making his way to the Dark World here, but we'll have to see if he routes in Skull Woods. Mitts being in the Skull Woods big chest, that's going to be something Roach will want sooner rather than later. Nothing in Super Bunny Cave for Solski. Hookshot Cave looks like first chest has a heart piece. Second chest has bombs. A shield in the third chest. And a red rupee on the last chest. And he is saving and quitting, not even bothering with scouting the Turtle Rock Medallion or Spike Cave. Which is an interesting decision. I don't disagree with it. I don't know that I would have done it, but it's definitely an aggressive play. But I don't think it's a bad play. I mean, Turtle Rock's a pendant, so you're probably not going there anyways, even if you do have access to it. And Spike Cave is just a really long check.
Yeah, looks like he is going to head over to the mire area. So 3 items just between the shed and checkerboard cave here. And then might have access to mire. Has access to desert, may or may not be able to get anything there. It is Quake, so that
that puts all of mire in logic. It's not a fight I would want to do, but it is a fight that we have logical access to.
I mean, I definitely hit up desert first and like hope for a master sword at least. And find out if it's boots locked. That's kind of useful information.
Yeah, and Roach did opt to go into Skullwood, so he does have his bits now, which is really nice. I also want to give a shout out to Roach and his quarter beeps. You're doing the world a favor, and we appreciate you. Unlike some people who like to play on double speed beeps, who I will not name because that would be unfair to Christos.
I feel like he must not even listen to them. He just is restreaming them as an act of aggression.
Roach trying to get the hook shot skip, but unfortunately not getting it. We have a small key in desert, so there's a chance we're not boots locked. I don't think Solski scouted the torch, so there's a chance the big key could still be on the torch. And now Roach is doing Dark Death Mountain, so luckily Solski did have to do the same play. So he's not necessarily losing time over Solski, but at the same time, I wonder if in his mind he's like, oh, well, I was in Hera, then immediately got a fire source. Then I went back to Death Mountain, then immediately got the bit. So there's a lot of backtracking on Roach's part, some of which Solski has done, some of which Solski's been able to avoid. So I'm kind of wondering mentally what may or may not be going through his mind right now.
Yeah, chat saying Solski did check out the torch, and it was the red meringue, so that would be our first item. Looks like the second is on landless.
Awesome. And this will be kind of a slow land move. I wouldn't say a slow fight, but kind of an awkward fight. You know, usually you have a rod or at least a bow. But it looks like we're either going to be using hammer or the Cane of Samaria here.
Yeah, or the, you know, vanilla-ish fighter sword.
Like at one point, they're going to be glad they picked a shared sword because it's going to be the only sword they get until the Looks like Turtle Rock is Bombos, so Roach knows that, but Solski does not. I personally would like to have the information, even if I don't plan on using it, but we'll see if that ends up playing a major role here.
Yeah, Solski going with hammer strats, doing very well with that up-down hit box, actually getting multiple hits on a lot of these. Like 3 hits just on that cycle on that second worm.
Yeah, each worm takes 4 hits on the hammer, so it's a pretty quick fight if you're good with the hammer. Unfortunately, though, he didn't get anything that's going to help him in Mire, so if he opts to go into Mire, especially if he goes all the way to Vitreous, it's going to be an interesting fight. He does have a bottle, though, so he could go get safeties if he wants. He has plenty of rupees, so that's an option. Looks like he might be going straight to Mire, unless he hasn't checked Checkerboard Cave. No, I think he's going to Mire.
Checkerboard Cave was 50 rupees. He does, one of those bottles did come pre-filled with a fairy, I believe, so he does have at least one safety. It's still, like, not the most fun Vitreous fight.
Yeah, and the only invincibility item he has is the Cane of Burna, but unfortunately, Fighter Sword slashes do not damage Vitreous, and you cannot use a spin attack while Cane of Burna is active. So this will be a very sketchy fight if Solski does go into a very difficult fight if Solski does opt to go to Vitreous. But one thing I will say, I do think Mire gets a little bit of unfair hate in terms of the cost to double dip Mire. It really doesn't take a lot to get to Mire. So it could be a completely reasonable play to dive everything but Vitreous and then just come back for Vitreous later. So that's definitely a reasonable option for Solski.
Yeah, and those were some nice Cane of Samaria strats in Mire 2. The kill room there, that's a lot of the cost of a re-entry.
Just 2 small keys in the front of Mire, so no items, no big key. We're going deeper into this dungeon. I'll be interested to see what Roach does after Desert. If it were me, I would probably go do Thieves Town rather than Meyer at this point. At least, I mean, I don't know. If you're planning on doing this, but you don't want to kill Vitreous, that's one thing. But if I had even an inkling to kill Vitreous, I'd much rather go through Village of Outcasts in hopes of getting some more offensive power.
Yeah, you could also just do the Smith Chain before Thieves. You've got Mirror and Flute, so it's as fast as it can get without boots.
It's like Roach is going with Samaria strats for Landmo. He's getting a lot of value out of these blocks.
Yeah, I think this is going to end up being slower than the hammer kill, but it's quite nice use of the cane.
Yeah, I'm slightly embarrassed, but I don't know exactly how much damage the Cane of Samaria does. I know it's 8 Fighter Sword slashes to kill 1 Landmo. I know it's 4 hammer hits, but I don't actually know how many Samaria hits it takes.
I believe Samaria does Fighter Sword class damage in all cases where it hurts, but I'm not totally sure.
That sounds right, but I'm not confident enough to swear by it. So it does look like Roach is leaving, and I tend to favor Roach's play here. Big key in the last location it could have been, so Roach is going, I mean, Solski is going to check out this big chest, and then we're going to see what he decides to do after that. We are still 1 item short. Ooh. Oh, did
he didn't get 1-0'd, did he? No, crash.
This is interesting. Okay, that could have been much worse than it ended up being. So for those that don't know, if you die on the same frame that you fall down a hole, the game will crash. The game will hard crash. You will have to hard reset your console to get back.
Yeah, a couple of things. I have no idea how long it's been since he saved and quitted. Oh, and there's Boots,
wow.
which is also a bow, because a bow is on library.
It looks like Solski's going back. He wants a piece of Vitreous. This is an interesting call. I don't know that I'd fight Vitreous with this, but I'm also pretty bad at low percent Vitreous strats.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be confident in this fight. I am not nearly as good as Solski or as you, for that matter. Worth noting, I believe we're now either Fire Rod or Bombos away from what we can call 6 crystal go mode. That Boots also gives us a bow, so you don't even have to worry about the mimic clip.
Unfortunately, since Solski did have to use the lamp to light the torches on the Firelight side, he does not have Spooky armed. Using the lamp will erase the value that makes Spooky work.
He doesn't have the Fire Rod anyway, and you have to have... Yeah, it's only Fire Rod that works with that, right?
That is also a very... So what's really unfortunate for Roach here, like, while I do agree from this play in terms of I don't want to deal with Fighter Sword Vitreous, it might be a while before he comes back and gets those boots. And without those boots, he doesn't have a bow. It looks like Solski's just walking right up there with a hammer. Doesn't care what Vitreous has to say. Eat this hammer.
I mean, I respect it if you can pull it off. It's not an easy version of this fight. Gonna throw a few bombs in there to soften them up.
That was a very aggressive start there.
I mean, he used his fairy, so he doesn't even have that backup. I believe a hit is death. It's some ungodly number of hammer hits on the last phase, even once it gets through these small eyeballs.
Like he was going for Berna, but because he realized that he can't do the fighter sword spins.
Yeah, I think he used it to dodge a couple of hits there. Berna doesn't have the cooldown when you switch to it that Kate does.
So the more eyes you kill, the faster those lightning cycles come. So Solski's through phase 1.
I mean, this part is a lot more rhythm-based. As long as he doesn't lose the eye, he should be okay, but one slip and it's gonna be bad.
This is terrible. Like, everything in my body is clenched right now. Wow. That was an excellent fight.
Just as a note, I have no idea if Roach got anything out of Thebes. My eyes cannot read that fight.
Wow, that was excellent. You're a bigger man than me, Solski.
I mean, Roach can actually gain some time if he comes in later for a less horrifying version of that fight, but Solski got it done.
One thing I know we mentioned, one thing I'm not sure we mentioned earlier, but in addition to a method to clear Ice Palace, we also need a sword. Right now, both runners still on Fighter Sword. We don't really know where a Master Sword is right now.
Well, it might be Ice, it might be Skull Woods. If we find the Fire Rod, I suspect Solski will never step foot in Ice and we'll do Eastern instead. Eastern and Skullwoods. It might be the rare seed where we actually have a choice in which dungeons we do in a 6-6. A lot of times it works out that one of them is locked behind GT.
Solski is going to do his due diligence and check Lumberjack here. Should be easy to skip in this scenario, in my opinion. You're one item from go mode. What are the odds of it actually being at the Lumberjack? I did not see what that was.
Neither did I. Yeah, gonna do Sick Kid and grab his bow, I'm guessing. He only needs Fire Rod or Bombos plus flips logically. If he finds Bombos, he's going to just go mode it and just try to find a sword in GT or along the way.
Yeah, sword mode might be a soft spot for Solski. He had a very tragic qualifier in which he had the dream of hammer go mode, but unfortunately every sword in that seed was locked behind the hammer. So he ended up spending, I want to say, like 30 or 45 minutes looking for a sword.
That is horrible. So the cape must have been somewhere here in Thieves Town because Roach has it.
Yeah, I don't remember there being anything valuable on Bumper Ledge. I think it was just a big 20, so that will help him with Vitreous. But outside of that, I don't think there's much value in that cape right now.
Okay, chat telling me that it was Village of Outcasts chess game.
It's kind of interesting just because you don't get this opportunity very often, but Solski might be setting himself up for Go Mode Thieves Town here.
Hey, there's a Master Sword off the dig game. So if Roach does head into Mire, that alone plus the cape makes for a much more comfortable Vitreous fight.
Yeah, Master Sword Cape is one of my favorite alternative Vitreous strats.
Plus he's got half magic, so really can just sit there and spam slash.
Also, the one of the swords being located there might be a thorn in Solski's side if he finds Bombos or Fire Rod in one of these dungeons. Because the odds of him doing Dig Game go down exponentially.
Yeah, though Hammer Cold Stare is like a couple leagues of difficulty below Hammer Vitreous.
Oh no, I completely agree with that, but he does need the Master Sword for Ganon. And if he finds Go Mode in this dungeon or in any of the dungeons, I highly doubt he's going to go back for Dig Game. So that's one sword that he's definitely not going to get.
Yeah, it just depends where the other two are. Or is it 3? I'm not sure how Sword Assured works. If it's like, old easy mode where you had 8 and they didn't turn into big 20 or into 20s until after you got to gold.
I think I remember reading that there's just like a blue rupee or something that replaces one of the swords in Assured mode.
Okay, so it replaces one of the locations fixed. It's not like over progression where it would.
Getting a fake powder play from Roach.
Yeah, that is not the most efficient option he had for draining magic, but it gets there eventually.
And just for a piece of heart, which is good news for Solski because he does not have that option. He turned in the mushroom for a heart container and opted to keep the heart container. So nothing in Eastern Palace either.
Yeah, and Solski already did the boots checks. I'm not sure where he'll go next.
I mean, if I were him, I'd be going to Village of Outcasts. I think it's time. I mean, we know it's empty, but he doesn't.
That's true. I didn't really consider that. Be interested to see if this purple chest actually has something.
I feel like Purple Chest having something would be very good. If it has, obviously a Fire Rod or Bombos, that would be really good for Solski. Because he's going to get his Master Sword, and then very shortly he's going to be getting Go Mode. Whereas Roach is he still has to find those boots.
Yeah, high on the list of things that would be very irritating to see here actually would be the flippers.
Or even slightly more interesting might be the second bow. Moment of truth for the purple chest.
That appears to be a fire rod.
So that's really bad for Roach. Because now he has a lot of options that probably look much better than Meyer right now.
Well, Roach is basically in go mode if he can mimic clip.
You do have a point there. Because he can skip Eastern and just do Skull and Ice.
Yeah, Skull, Ice, and Meyer. If he gets the boots, then he'll have options to do something else. But, I mean, I don't think he will, given that they were in the big chest.
Yeah, and I don't see Solski skipping the Smith chain after Thieves Town.
Yeah, it seems unlikely. So a lot of this may just depend on how good does Roach know the mimic clip and how comfortable is he with it, because it can be kind of miserable.
Yeah, it's one of those things that doing it slow is easy, doing it fast is difficult. So as long as you're comfortable with pause buffering and you know those kind of movements, it's really not difficult to do. But it's one of those that if you don't spend time to learn it, you might think it's much more difficult than it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nowhere near as good as either of these runs.
So depending on how comfortable Roach is with the Mimic Clip, if he's well practiced in it, he might just go straight for it. If he's not comfortable with it, he might opt to full clear GT, hoping for a bow before doing the Mimic Clip if he doesn't find one, you know, otherwise on the way. We'll just have to see what we get here from Roach. He already skipped out on the Harapot. So that right there, you know, maybe he hasn't practiced some of the sequence breaks. And in 6.6, you know, sequence breaks are super valuable.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about that is that Mimic Clip has been around for a fair amount longer than Harapot, so I don't know enough about Roach to know if he would be practiced on the Mimic Clip or not.
And one bad thing about Roach's position is that even if he finds the items he needs, like even if he's comfortable right now, let's say that he's a pro at the Mimic Clip, you know, he's still up against Solski with boots. And Solski's most likely going to get a sword here.
And Solski with bow.
Yeah.
Like, even if he's practiced at the Mimic Clip, it's a lot slower than shooting them.
Yeah, even bufferless mimics. Oh, a nice ride.
I mean, that's the second item, so he doesn't have to check the thing under the stairs if he's not in go mode. We'll learn a lot about how Roach feels from the next dungeon he does, I think.
Solski getting a little bit off script with the blind fight there, but still pulling it out. With that much health, blind's not really much of a threat.
Alright, well, this is Meyer.
The big key is right next to the big chest. So this might not be that bad for Roach.
Yeah, if he's not in go mode, he's going to be momentarily.
Solski's getting his sword, so he's probably very relieved to see that. Just one less thing you have to worry about.
Yeah, the thing
And
is
he's going back for the smiths too, so Solski's about to hit go mode very quick.
yeah, and he's just gonna have Skullwoods to do.
So luckily for Roach, it is going to take Solski a bit of time to get to that purple chest, so Roach does have a little bit of a buffer here to hopefully get those boots and make a beeline for that bow.
Yeah, I mean he'll walk down to Stumpy because I don't think he's done that check yet, and then probably do the chest glitch. Solski's pretty much certainly in the lead. I'm not totally sure about how much. It may be a small enough gap that Ganon's tower routing can still make it up.
This is kind of an ironic 6-6 seed because this wouldn't even be that bad if it was 7-7.
Yeah, Turtle Rock being a pendant goes a long way there.
I mean, they would still be in go mode even if it was 7-7.
Well, no, they wouldn't because Mombos, but yeah, they would.
Well,
if
they
Turtle
got
Rock
the
was
fire
a-
rod.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant if Turtle Rock was a crystal. So yeah, Solski pretty tight here for go mode. We have about another 15 seconds or so. Skullwood, Chad asking if Skullwoods was loaded. It was Ice Rod, which we don't need at all, and Mitts, so I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, 2 items, both of them technically progression. You know, Mitts definitely being progression. Ice Rod technically being progression. So Solski's in go mode.
Yeah, that's the thinnest of technicalities. But yeah, the clear out of Mothula is going to be pretty quick for him here.
Roach is going for the boots. He almost did not, but opted to double back the last second.
Yeah, like that. He's still going to be... Like, he's probably not going to be done with Vitreous before Solski's done with Mothula.
Yeah, he's at least a dungeon behind right now.
Yeah, and he's going to have to go by library to grab that bow. Because it's definitely faster to do that than Mimic Clip, for sure.
Definitely. And if you know the bow is on library, even if you decide you're going to Mimic Clip and you find a bow, you're still salty because it's like, oh, well, I just threw away silvers. Great.
Yeah, if you're good at the Mimic Clip, I think that's about the same time difference, especially if they're on Master Sword Silverless versus Master Sword Silvers.
It's a slick Samaria dash from Roach there. You don't see that too often now that Spooky's a thing, but that was well executed.
Yeah, nice combination Master Sword spins and hammer strat from Solski on Mothula. So with Solsti's 6th crystal, he'll be heading up the mountain to GT.
Yep, so we do have a game that we like to play in speed gaming. If you want to, you can throw a guess in chat for where you think the GT Big Key is. There are 22 locations in Ganon's Tower. I will probably not be counting them because I am bad at counting GT chests. But if someone in chat wants to keep up with that, unfortunately our bot is down, but that is something you are welcome.
I just derived it from the route they took and then where it ended up at. It's easier than counting along the way for me.
Yeah, Roach having a much easier Vitreous fight here.
Yeah, the Master Sword... Oh, no.
Oh, no.
He's got a fairy still, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, man. Don't do that to me, Roach. I want to say it takes like a heroic number. Like I want to say more than 30 Master Sword slashes on Vitreous.
Yeah,
don't quote me on that, but it's a lot.
Ghastly number. Like it's a lot of hammer hits, and hammer's going to be doing twice the damage. Got a guess on the big key?
I always want it to be on right side.
I'm going to go tile room just to give Roach a chance to make the insane play. Like the play you should never actually make.
Roach getting his bow. It'll be interesting to see if he does Eastern or Ice. Given that you have Master Sword, I'd probably still do Ice. I mean, I'd probably still do Eastern over Ice.
Second bow and just one of Hope Room.
Well, that makes you feel a lot better about the Master Sword Ganon fight. Looks like Solski might be trying to take advantage of the stun prize. He does not have powder, and as far as I know, I don't think he has any safeties left. But you do have a single heart as the stun prize.
He went by the witches, had to buy a blue.
Oh, okay, awesome. Like he was trying to stun a Stalfos there or something. So far, no big key. So Solski is going to the Fire Snake chest and then the Randomizer room. Still looking for that. Having to use Samaria strats because he does not have a boomerang, so he can't do the quote-unquote usual strats in that room.
Roach heading into the back of Eastern.
Well, there's Bamos.
We can get into Turtle Rock now.
I mean, the obvious play now is gamble on tempered into rock. You got to go.
Roach about to get his 6th crystal.
I think we are going to get an Ice Armos fight on Solski. So we call this the Armos relay fight. Roach is done, handing the baton to Solski.
Alright, so if Roach does Dark Magician or full right side may have a better chance.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize Roach hadn't checked Sahajrala's closet yet.
Yeah, looking for a tempered or silver still. That's going to cost him some time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, part of being a good rando runner is knowing where your skill limit is. So if you're not like 100% comfortable with a Master Sword Ganon, and you feel better with the Tempered Sword, it's better to waste 20 seconds looking for a Tempered Sword and find it rather than waste 5 to 10 minutes dying to Master Sword Ganon. And Solski finding Vicky in the very first chest on right side. But
yeah,
no tempered.
So some chance for Roach to regain some time, but gonna be behind. I believe that was 18.
I like that potion refill from Solski. I don't know if that was intentional, but he drank the potion, then walked on the spike floor, so he got full health, but then used the spike floor to take away his sword beams, which can actually really get in the way during the gauntlet.
Yeah,
Not
Master
sure.
Sword Gauntlet's already kind of obnoxious, although silvers help a lot.
So Roach is making his way to Ganon's tower now. We'll see if he dodges the lightnings. Unfortunately, with Master Sword, oh, nice Bernadash from Roach there. Lionels do not recognize the Master Sword at all. You need tempered or better to damage them. Of course, including Master Sword spins.
Yeah, those things are the bane of many an inverted player's existence.
Yeah, and they hit like a truck too. I think they do some 4 hearts of damage. Roach, Solski getting some mileage out of the spikes in that room. Usually the red Zyzacs take 2 Master Sword hits, but if you knock them in spikes, you can get away with 1 Sword Slash.
So Roach taking the same routing through GT, so not going to regain any time there.
Yeah, I don't blame him, but it's just, unfortunate in this seat because he needs that time.
Yeah, I mean, they both did the same routing, but used to be the most common by a lot. You see a lot of Dark Magician now.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Dark Magician. You look like a genius when it works out, but when it doesn't work out, it's like, oh, what a memer.
I'm a big fan of this routing because it means you have to do the conveyor belt mummy room in the fewest number of seeds.
Yeah, that's a good point. Solski coming up on Moldorm 2. I didn't see if he checked the mini Helmasaur chest or not. He did check that chest though, so I'm pretty sure he's still hoping for a tempered sword at this point.
I mean, these ones that are not that okay.
Uh-oh,
Solski.
uh-oh, uh-oh. Nice, well executed hover there. It's an interesting choice when you have Master Sword. I will laugh, having been there myself, but I will laugh if the Moldorm 2 chest has a tempered sword.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll see that chest when Roach gets there.
That was a good double from Solski. The timing there was quite tight. That was a good Aga. 2, 2, and 2. And that was not a free Aga fight either, by far.
No, that was very well done. Heading into the Ganon fight, he's looking to have a pretty good time this seed. Though it throws off my own mental measurements of how friendly a seed is when it's 6/6 and you don't end up doing 7 dungeons.
Solski made me nervous there, like we had some latency on the stream there.
Yeah, I missed if he got the bounce off of the trident to get any extra hits there, but sets up in the corner, not pushed into phase 2 yet.
Yeah, he has the cape and half magic. I don't know if he still has any potions left, but that is an option for him if he wants to get through this fight a little faster.
Yeah, with silvers, it's not too bad to burn that. It's harder to set up for doubles for phase 4, but you still only need 4 silver arrows.
Oh, Solski trying to use the hook shot to get through the fire bats and accidentally grab the torch there.
Taking the high-risk play of turning on the Cane of Burna with fire bats on the screen that can occasionally cause the game to lag to slideshow levels.
I like what Solski's doing here. Why Ganon is teleporting. He's actually grabbing the wall so that he does not consume magic. Just a weird quirk of the game.
Into phase 3. You also don't drain magic with the cape while you are actually in the middle of swinging your sword, which is why Roach was able to just turn it on and spam slashes on Vitreous.
Solski not even bothering with Torch Glitch, but that's fine because it's not necessary with Silvers.
Yeah, you can use the control this way. Wow, gets a triple. That is not easy with Master Sword.
Yeah, very, very well executed Ganon fight from Solski there. And Solski crosses the bridge with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 40 seconds. So get your GGs in chat for Solski. That also means that Solski will be advancing into the bracket stage of this tournament.
Yeah, congratulations to him for that. Looks like Roach is going to continue through the gauntlet here. Unfortunately, that does mean Roach's tournament will be coming to an end here. Definitely no shame at all in that. The the bracket this year is just insanely loaded. Like, the groups were ridiculous.
Yeah, Solski was actually the lowest seed in this group, coming out of the 4th quartile.
I believe that may have something to do with the story you mentioned earlier of looking for a sword for like 40 minutes.
And we are joined with Solski. GG, man.
Thanks, guys.
How does it feel to be moving on to the bracket stage of the tournament?
All right, I guess. Kind of, you know, I used to take tournaments super serious, and now like this one is just very chill for me. This actually might be my last one for Link to the Past, so just kind of enjoying it, right?
Nice. So I have to ask, there's one moment in particular that sticks out to me, and that was your death in Mire on the laser bridge. What was going through your mind right there?
It was a roller coaster of emotions. Because it's like I lost the safety fairy that made the Mire dip like reasonable, and then I got boots, and then all that rage just went away. Like, it was like a really high and a really low and a really high all at the same time. So it was pretty funny. And
we were so worried that you were about to get 1.0'd right there and just crash your game, because you had done a lot. That would have been all a desert. I think some of Death Mountain.
Yep, it was scary. And then I remember the patch was in, it would have been fine. I was like, all right, good. Because that could have been real bad. But yeah, and then Vidi was literally Monka S the whole fight. Because I was an idiot and I got hit like right away, and I was like, well, I just have to not like get hit again now.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most aggressive hammer vitreous starts I've ever seen from a runner.
I'm like super comfy with it in the hitboxes on the fight, because you can kind of manipulate the eyes, right? And I didn't have the. I was going for it. I'm like, there's no way it's gonna be like top right, and then it was top right. Because if it was left, I would have had more room to move. But like the right one, I think it was like the bottom right one that was closest to me, just like popped me. I was like, well. But yeah, no, I just got kind of unlucky with that. But yeah, luckily again, I just knew the rules of the fight. How the eyeballs operated, and then I think Kana Berna saved me one of the eyeballs as well. So
yeah, it was very, very fun to watch. And the Mire dip was one of the big I would say one of the game changing or game deciding decisions you made. One of the other ones, your routing was a little bit more complete. Roach didn't do the Hera pot. So he had to double dip Hera. And if he entered the Dark World same way you did in Hype Cave, except for he immediately took his lamp back to Hera.
Oh, okay. So was that like a little bit of a loss, but you had to. There's the bombos. You had the mirror though to get back, so I kind of thought about that. I'm like, if he doesn't do Hera pot, I'm gonna save a lot of time, because I thought about it afterwards. But it was just it just made the route so clean. Giving me a good option of Desert to Mire once I learned that Mire's medallion was in fact Quake. But I was in logic with it because of course we got that land from Hype Cave. And it was like, I probably should do Thieves first, but what the hey, right? And sure enough, it just paid off. So it was really neat to see.
Yeah, Roach ended up having the Fire Rod before he ever died stepping foot in the Mire. So I was worried that was going to take him away from potentially finding the boat. Because if you're comfortable with the mimic clip at that point, you're effectively in go mode.
Yep. He actually brought up a really good point in IRC. He said his plan was going to be, if Mire didn't have anything, he was just going to fake flip it ice and he would clear it, but he wouldn't do all of it. And he was going to risk a bow and GT, which he would have found at that point. And then the boots just ended up being in Mire anyways. So I didn't really actually think of that. It's like the first 6-6 I've done in like a race setting or anything like that. So I was like, I guess I wasn't really thinking around that. So that was a really good pickup by him. I was just laser focused on, hey, I need these items for go.
Yeah, we were kind of joking because for a 6-6 seed, this was pretty polite because this actually would have been a decent 7-7 seed.
Yeah, it would have been, but of course the logic works with 6-6 a little different, of course. But that's what I thought too. I'm like, I would have loved this as a 7-7 because like Fire Rod go mode, I get to go mode ice, and it would have been good. And then like a lot of soft dungeons in between, right? Except for maybe Meyer was the only one that was really kind of tough. But
Yeah, and there were just a lot of other
it's fun
things
too.
that the seed did to really help you out. You didn't have to die pod. You didn't have to touch Turtle Rock.
Yeah,
A lot of those
that was
like
locked
really
out, I think.
time-consuming dungeons.
I think Turtle Rock was locked out by Bombos. I didn't check until like I was going to GT, and I didn't really even look for it then. I saw kind of the swirly pattern, and I just assumed. But yeah, like Bombos was in GT, so you had to find that Fire Rod. Like, there's a lot of good soft stuff. I don't even know where the flippers were. So
We actually never found flippers.
yeah, like I guess Pod. That's gotta be really the only logical spot because after Purple Chest, I only had Pod left. So
Well, it could have been in one of the downstairs locations in GT as well.
the only one left is Tower Room at that point. But you're right, it could have been. Yeah, again, my guess would have been Podder there, and Pod would win out for sure. But that would have been gross. Can you imagine like going to Pod and then you're like, hey man, I just lucked out on flippers, and then you go to Swamp?
Because everything
been
else,
heartbreak.
I got distracted. I forgot that you sequence broke Zora. Like the moment you got Dark World access, it was like, oh, Swamp is in Logic. So yeah, flippers being logically that early in the season, like you'd almost be silly not to go straight to Swamp.
Yeah, I think it just made the route cleaner overall too doing that, because then I had that option taken away, and not that it really gives you any information, it just takes away locations that flippers can lead to, right? Then it's ice or swamp at that point. So it's kind of good for that reason to get it out of the way, but it just, what was it, like 3 big 20s and a piece of heart from Zora. So
Yeah.
I was kind of glad though, once I got my glove in here, I knew that Zora was in Logic, so I was just like, all right, cool. So I already did that. I don't have to worry about that pain in the ass, so we're good.
Yeah, there were just a lot of little decisions that you made that made your route a little cleaner than Roach's. Roach had to do a lot of backtracking. There were some small things that he could have done that would have brought his route back into the cleaner side of things, but just unfortunately didn't work out that way. It looks like he has killed Ganon. He is shooting the wall with arrows, which you got to be careful with, because sometimes it can cause the bridge not to spawn, I believe.
Yeah, it's again, it's fun seed. Looking forward to brackets. Mainly due to your spreadsheet telling me who I'm gonna face, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'd be honored if he were to retire me, so if I do get Gem, that's gonna be a really fun matchup for me. I always look for like the hardest matchups possible. Like I was really, when it was SG Live, I was really excited with Zandy because I feel like that just brings out the best. It kind of brings me out to like kind of really try hard, right, and go for it. So.
Nice. So, and it does look like Roach has crossed the bridge with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 10 seconds. We'll see if we can bring him in. And there he is. GG, Roach.
Hey, good game, Solski.
Yo, good game, Roach.
It was an honor to face against Solski because him and Phantom Ryu are the two that actually taught me Randomizer. So being able to pretty much go 1-2 against him in some pretty close games for the most part. No, I'm happy for the result. I can't be upset with the 128 time, even with the loss.
Yeah, there were just some. We were going over that with Solski. There were just some minor decisions that you made that, unfortunately, Solski's route just worked out a little bit cleaner. For one, he did Harapot.
You need to learn that. I've been lazy on learning that.
Yeah, so he did Harapot, so he singled dipped Hera. Then you got the lamp and then went immediately back up to Hera. Whereas maybe, which there was no way you could have known this, but maybe holding off on the mitts would have kind of tightened up your route a little bit. So there were quite a few mountain climbs. And then you had Fire Rod, but Solski had the boots and Meyer. Solski did an absolutely insane Fighter Sword Hammer Vitreous.
Well, because of our first race where we both like last location Dice Rod in Skullwoods, front of Skullwoods too, I'm like, I'm doing this right away. About those mitts, and I was just trying to take full advantage with those mitts as much as I could right in the beginning.
Yeah, Solski got the mitts pretty early, but ended up putting off some. I mean, he did Dark Death Mount immediately, but Smith Chain, like his go mode, he needed a sword and fire rod, and got those basically immediately after Thieves Town. Thieves Town was actually his last crystal he completed before go mode. Like he had done Eastern, he had done Mire, Desert, all of that he did before Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, so we were talking to IRC about all that stuff, and I overheard, in the Speed Gaming 4 channel while waiting for the race to officially finish on that side, about how he said what I planned to route in if I didn't find the boots or bow in the time.
Damn. And Solski, I wanted to ask you, was there a particular reason why you favored Desert and Mire over the Village of Outcasts area?
Just +1 crystal, chasing Titans from Skullwoods, going a little higher in the chain. I also like early information, because at the time I didn't know that boots were going to be required. I mean, you see a bow on East or on Library, and that's a 50-50 split now, with the bow being twice fold now in the game versus how it used to be. So I wasn't sure really what I was looking for until I went to Desert and there wasn't boots. Or it wasn't boots required, and then I was like, all right, well, I got that crystal, and then obviously I knew Mire was Quake, so I was like, there's another crystal, so it was good. And again, I think it just pushed me along the crystals faster, was the main one. Thieves Town, the problem with Thieves Town is if I do Thieves, I do VOO. If I do VOO, I do South Route, Purple Chain, or Purple Chest, Smiths, everything like that, and that's a lot of overworld in a 6-6. And just kind of thinking about it, I'm kind of more dialed into just, hey, I want to get to those crystals ASAP. And if I didn't have that option, like if I had to do overworld, then that's a great upstart over as my next option. But just if I can get to a crystal, I'd probably prefer to do it at that point.
Nice. And Roach, one question we had for you. We were trying to kind of figure out, based on your routing, how comfortable you would have been with the Mimic Clip. So even if you didn't get the Bone Library, of course, oh, you don't know how to Mimic Clip?
Nope.
Were you willing to try it out, or were you, like, let's say that you're in GT, there's no bow. Are you leaving to find the bow, or are you going to try it out?
I would have cried.
I mean, again, like I was telling him, that's like a really clever way to look at it, right? Because you didn't run into those items, and you have one crystal left, so might as well just do it, hope for the best, and go from there. Because for all he knows, like somewhere else could have had flips. Like say boots were in Mire and it was in ice instead, and flippers were in pod. Then he just gets all that right. So I really understood his logic like immediately, and it was really sound.
Yeah, so as soon as I dipped ice, I would have just done Pen Gator Room, double Freeze Orb Room, because you cross both of them, and just fall cold stare, then just gamble GT and pray.
Yep. No, it's again, that's pretty heads up. So that's good.
So earlier we were congratulating Solski because he is moving on to the brackets, and unfortunately, Roach, that means that this is going to be your final match on the tourney. So just, do you have any general thoughts, any general reflections? How's your tourney experience been? High points, low points?
I mean, I'm glad I even got this far, basically in the top 96, since I wasn't one of the first ones eliminated. But, it's my first time past the qualifiers. The last two tournaments, I just barely missed the cutoff on the tournament, or the qualifiers. I was like a point short. Like, oh, top 128, I got 132nd. So, it's already, I've already shown that I've progressed and everything, and the top 128 this time was just insane. Everyone was a good player.
Yeah, I mean, really, just the entire group stage has been pretty stacked.
I'll say solid 120 of the 128 has a good chance of winning this tournament.
Yeah, this tournament is crazy. Like I was in the last tournament that took like 5 years to complete. Because it's just so huge, right? But the skill density you have now and that ceiling is super high. So the community is really improved at this game. It's just kudos to everyone's effort and kind of learning it and mastering that craft, right? So it's been really fun to watch, and I'm really excited to see like where the young blood, so to speak, come, because it's like they're just doing so well. It's so cool to see.
Nice. So, thank you both for running. Again, GG to both of you. Mercer, I didn't know if you had any final questions for the runners. Other than that, you want to sign us off?
Yeah, I don't really have any questions you didn't get to. I think the reaction to Solski of maybe getting 1.0 there was probably the most important thing. But yeah, that will do it for us tonight. I want to give a shout out to both the runners. Everybody should follow them, Solski and Roach788. Everybody should also follow our tracker, Revolving Ocelot, for helping us stay on top of things and seem smarter than at least I am, as well as my co-com P-Train. Coming up tonight, I think we've still got a few more matches on the schedule. Let me just bring it up here. So we are kind of heading towards the end of groups. I believe it's all supposed to be wrapped up by this weekend. But coming up tonight, starting in about half an hour, it's NY Rambler versus Hacksaw over on Speed Gaming 3. And then at 11:20 a.m. tomorrow morning, you'll have Humba versus GFE 12 on the main Speed Gaming channel. But as brackets are getting ready to start, as groups are wrapping up, follow Speed Gaming 1 through 6 and ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 5 to keep up with the tournament action. Hope everybody has a good night. And any last words for us, P-Train?
Not at all. GG again, Roach and Solski. Really a pleasure to watch you guys race. Good luck, Solski, as you go into the bracket stage. And good luck, Roach, with all your future randomizer endeavors.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yep, have a good night, everyone.